but I plan to come back again a little bit later with a friend of mine, Jeff Morrow. Some of you might remember him from my Layman's Philosophy broadcast. Yeah. But I just had a little time right now, so I thought that what I would do is do a Japan show. And what do I mean by a Japan show? Well, I mean, I kind of mean, at least that's my intention, although my video seems pixelated and my PowerPoint is not launching. Okay, here comes PowerPoint. Interesting. It's not quite the same old that I'm used to. Let's see if it'll work. It seems to work. All right. Why is my window so far here? There, that's okay. I think I'm ready now. I'm supposed to do these things during the pre-live, but I never do things the way I'm supposed to, do I? All right, so there that is, and maybe here I am. Oh, what I click on now? Perhaps be a good boy. Boy, but that camera, I just must have a bad connection. Let me check my internet connection. Oh, I'm on the slow. All right, let's see what happens when I switch my internet connection. Huh. It doesn't want me to do that. What is going on in the world? Problems, and more problems. That's the way of the world. Okay, well, my iPad is connected to the network that my computer says cannot be found. So what do you think about that? I think I'm confused. That's what I think. If I try this, says that one cannot be found either. That's just silliness. How about this one? All right. Something very wrong is going on with my computer. This is bad news. I restarted just before I went on so that I would be sure be good. But this is not gonna look good. I don't know how I'm sounding, but I'm sure that this is not looking good. I'm all pixelated because I'm on the slower network and I cannot switch to the faster one. Wait a minute. Something's running in the background. Let me pause that. Does that help anything? Oh, very strange. Very, very strange. Well, if you saw my friend Jeff's broadcast yesterday, and like I said, we're planning on doing something about 2 hours from now. About 2 hours from now, Jeff and I plan to be online broadcasting again. Talking about the things Um, uh, Basically, kind of from our point of view, Americans in Japan, or at least foreigners in Japan, foreigners outside of the United States, lots of different categories to fit into there. But boy, my internet, I'm really rather concerned that it's not running correctly. I am going to have to, let's see, what did I do? If I invite myself and then, okay, so I can't invite myself. That makes sense. I thought maybe I could invite myself and then pass it off to my iPad or iPhone and then troubleshoot this, because I have the feeling that if I muck around, dropping by, Daniel, what's your big knowledge area? um, what's my biggest knowledge area? Boy, the biggest knowledge area is how much I don't know. There's a lot I know about that. I know that there's so much that I don't know. Like right now, I don't know why my internet is simply, I even find works that network my iPad next to me is connected to. So this is just very, very, very strange. For the purposes of your quizzing, what am I the most knowledgeable of? Well, let's see. I mean, what am I most knowledgeable of? Maybe linguistics. We can talk your Krashens, talk your Chomskys, talk your major linguists, or maybe English as a second language methodologies. We can talk your languages. Well, I mean, expert in languages, but in as far as communicating in languages, as you can see, I can barely communicate in English, but I do. I have studied linguistics, which gives me a little insight into maybe how some languages work, at least those that I've looked at a little bit. Look at phonology, the sound systems of languages. I looked at syntax, the grammar of languages. Look at the way languages change over time and so on. But I've been away from linguistics. I mean, that's what I studied in graduate school, but that was 35 years ago. So, what is my area of expertise? I mean, what is my kingdom? I don't know. I'm not sure that I have one. I'm a jack of all trades, master of none. My kingdom is well, going to be project. I can't online here. Something is I can no reason there is find no why my computer is not finding these other networks. Very, very strange. Yeah, see, that's what I'm saying. The network, it's, the network is on a slow one, and HAPS is telling me that my internet connection is unstable. Things are very, very wrong here. I'm going to have to run some analyses to see if I can figure out what's going wrong here, because it simply is not working. I can see that my video is pixelated, is unclear, and so on. Things are just not right. It's okay again, yeah, but it's okay, but it's not okay, because it must be the computer. Because, like I said, the iPad in the same room connects to the internet via a stronger, the faster network that I have. So something's not right. Let's see. Maybe I can run a network analysis. Let's see. iSharing. Yeah. Okay. There we go. Net analysis. Local area network. Tap the scan button. Like to find a connect. Okay, do that. Okay, it finds my iPad and it finds my it finds my iPad, it finds my computer, and it finds my phone, all connected to the network. But don't quite even understand that. And now it doesn't find my iPad. Maybe I'll call your kingdom, Japan, and the Philippines, or with you and your wife, to go head to head. Yeah, I mean, I do know something about Japan, and definitely knows a lot about beans. I've just started to scratch the surface there, but yeah, that would be a reasonable area for me to try to do something in. I'm just so baffled, though, that why I cannot find any other network and just and see if this America's a Philippines that fixes America versus beans. Well, I mean, if you're talking about America 30 years ago and longer, yeah. But for more than half of my life, I've lived in Japan. Now, I've been a foreigner in Japan, and for the first several years, I wasn't able to really understand much of what was going on around me, because I didn't study Japanese before I came here. I did, but just for a couple of months, which was to really be able to communicate. But yeah, living 33 years in Japan, longer than America. So yeah, I do know some things about Japan, although again, for about the last 8 years, I haven't watched really Japanese television. Hello, Lindsay. Hello. I apologize for the poor quality of my my broadcast right now. I'm having some internet connect issue. I don't are and problem. America, Japan, and Philippines, right? Yeah. Oh, virus. Oh, yeah, Japan. Yeah. One of the things, and Candy Sakai was talking about last night I was watching her, and she was talking about um, the fact that our prime minister over here went on the air to say that, yeah, we're gonna lock down things again. um, they've declared a state of emergency in, I think, 4 or 5 of the major mountain areas of Japan. Your Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya. I can't remember exactly where now. My little town was not included in those areas, but because of the pandemic and the condition being raised to the highest level, level 5. There are lockdowns, and we're coming up. Is no, what's this? What's the guy's name? Suga, Sugu, not Sugu. Yeah, Abe was. Yeah, Abe was, but now it's what's the guy's name? I know the guy's name. Yeah, I don't watch TV very. I can understand. Find most American juvenile and worth and not jeopardize my time to watch Philip shows worse by from my. I just don't like them. And even the Philippine things, video show my wife to drive the Akihito. Still alive, down. Yeah, Hirohito's son Akihito. Yeah, he's no longer. He stepped, but which was the first Japanese that a stepped down, from while he was, usually they serve until death and so on, but he said, hey, I've had enough of this, I'm old, I just can't with it anymore, son, I'm passing the torch on to you. And so that's what, and everybody accepted it pretty smoothly. Yeah, my third now. Don't even know what this emperor. I mean, so I came during. Actually, I mean, the Japanese people know it, but they never really say the emperor's name. I mean, nobody talked about Hirohito or Akihito, or it was always the Showa emperor, which is the emperor when I came. The Hirohito was the Showa emperor, and then it was the Heiwa emperor, Akihito, and now it's the Reiwa or the Reisei. No, I'm sorry, it was the Heisei, and now it's the Reiwa. Sorry, confusing, right? They all sound so alike. Yeah, Hirohito was. Thought it was God back in the day. I mean, yeah, until that time. Yeah, but I mean, that was the claim. I'm not sure how many people really believed it, but it's just like, what's the difference? If you question it, it's not going to get you anywhere. So, I can talking about here. So, Hirohito, there was nothing wrong with him. He was, I mean, it's like 18 years old when he ascended to the throne. That's why, the Hirohito's, the Showa emperor's reign was, I think, the longest in Japanese history. 63 years, I think, because again, he, his father, his reign was very short. and died relatively young, and so Hirohito took over when he was young, and of course, there was, the military was strong, and so being the emperor, if I mean, being emperor in Japan doesn't mean a lot, I mean, it's kind of like England or whatever, the Queen of England's not going to go out and declare war. It just doesn't work that way. Don't tell that to the Asian of the World War II era. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know all that many people that were alive at that time, but my impression not been that there was this great. I mean, the Americans, the news stories that I've heard portrayed it as some great shock that the emperor came on and said that that he wasn't a god or something like that. But the impact was on the Japanese of the time. My impression was the strong impact was hearing the emperor's voice. It was the first time that the emperor had broadcast voice, the radio, time that people had heard the emperor's voice, and that was what was impactful. Yeah, I mean, the emperor was a Japan and really of a true deity, I believe. But again, I don't know. See, that's the I get from the older Japanese. But again, I talked to them years after the fact, and time changes memories and so on. But I could be perplexed by my network issues. Circuits go. No, any. Yeah. Yeah. I have this. Yeah. Wait. To do about. I'm sure that was probably loud and obnoxious. Anything change that movement thing? I to restart or the broadcast later on. Very strange. Very strange. Picked up virus and all the downloading. Do please use your just. I mean, not uncommon, but it's probably more than any because Japanese don't use profanity. Like one of the most aggressive confrontational things that you can say is to use a Japanese equivalent of the pronoun you to someone, right? The word means. So I mean, the kind of profane words and phrases that are so commonly used in the West. I mean that they just there's more, I think. They'll get angry. I mean, yeah, the Japanese avoid conflict. Probably a good thing. It might be why certain segments of Japanese society have some of the highest incidents of suicide in the world. But yeah, it definitely avoids conflict. I mean, you don't hear every once in a while. I mean, sometimes, every couple of years you'll hear about some Japanese that goes off and he'll be, he'll run down the street into a crowd and pull out a samurai sword and slash a bunch of people. Or some guy goes off his rocker and drives his car through a crowd of people like that every few years. So I'm sure that I could count in my 33, sure that I could count the number of those incidents on at least using both hands. They just, they're just not confrontational. And they're not confrontational. They're not religious, really. I mean, they have the Shinto religion, they have the Buddhist religion here. They have Shinto shrines and Buddhist temples. They also have, Christian church and so on. Oh, that would make the gun fans in the U.S. happy. Yeah, guns. There are some guns in Japan that, of course, if guns are criminalized, only criminals will have guns, and that's the way it is over here. Only criminals have guns, but the number of guns that the criminals have is fairly small, and the criminals generally stick to killing each other. The famous Yakuza. I mean, it's possible some of those guys are obviously ill-tempered and so on, but still they're very disciplined, because they have their Yakuza hierarchy. So that, discipline is a big thing. And, plus it's fairly easy to spot them. And so unless you're just looking for trouble, which again, like I said, Japanese are not. I mean, almost all Japanese looking for trouble. It's pretty easy to avoid crossing a Yakuza. And so therefore, the chances of getting on their bad side is fairly small. Occasional attack with a sword or car. Yeah. It's so rare. I mean, there's mental illness in every country, and society developed their own ways of dealing with it and so on. And in every society, there are people that for whom the system fails, and so these type of things happen. These types of things happen. But I mean, the failure rate, if you want to look at it that way, where these things, break down to the extent that someone commits violence on a large scale against a number of other individuals, is so much lower than what you see in America. The Japanese are just fascinated by America, and not necessarily, it used to be in a good way. 30 years ago, I talked to my students and they were like, oh, American they like this they have this good image, this envious image of America, wanting to go to America and so on. And I don't hear that anymore. And it was before Trump. It was the America, at least I'm talking Canadian, so that's good, but America's lost it. I mean, yeah, the ones we're talking about Japan here. But anyway, yeah, the Japanese, they're a-religious. They can't understand. I mean, why are all these suicide suicide bombers and stuff, about a religion. Wait a minute, that just doesn't make sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense, in any way, shape, or form. If you, for me to think about it, it just doesn't make sense. Going to ours or sort of that argument. Yeah. Well, I mean, swords are regulated, I mean, they're basically kept by collectors, or can you vote in either country? I can still vote in America. I still have my American passport. I tell you, I've thought often and carefully about becoming a Japanese. One of the things that has slowed me down in transitioning to a Japanese citizenship is the fact that America now charges you like $2,500 to give up your citizenship. I mean, how desperate are they? They complain about the immigrants coming in, but if somebody wants to leave, then they charge them $2,000 to give up their citizenship. What kind of craziness is that? I mean, administrative costs to check and see this, that, and the other thing, make sure that you're not, escaping something or so on. But shoot, I mean, I don't have to give up my passport to be able to get out of the country and escape thing, Yeah, what? Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought. Yeah. It just doesn't make sense at all to me. I mean, especially in the era of computers, somebody could get on Google search and find out probably, what everything they needed to know. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's just foolishness. But I've got a friend who is, I think he has been for a while on the last step of becoming a Japanese citizen. Give them a Japanese curse word for that. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, the Japanese, I mean, the words, I mean, obviously they have words for like shit and fool, yeah. So I mean, that's about as as far as derogatory terms, you might call somebody a shitty guy or a fool, but that's about the most severe language that they have. Yeah, these verbal or physical confrontations are just not comfortable for most Japanese. So you're still turning Japanese. I'm turning Japanese. I know. Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, if it was a little easier, if it was just a little bit easier, I think I would have already done it. I mean, it's not that difficult, but there is the paperwork, and then just even a low hurdle when I'm able to live here with my visa. I'm able to live here with my permanent visa indefinitely. Voting and so on is not a major issue for me. I'm not sure that I want to, or that I would take the time to understand all the political details to the extent that I would make a good choice. So I don't know. Yeah. Hello, Raj. Welcome. Yeah. I'm sorry about the quality of my broadcast. I will be checking my network here. I finished in about another do this. I'm going to sign off. This is a short broadcast, but like I said, about an hour and a half from now, I will be back on again with a friend of mine. Going to be doing some talking. I just finished stream on upgrading Wi-Fi on a laptop. Okay, cool. Well, that's what I'm on. I'm on my Pro here, which is gonna work for me. I can't. I is going for me. Can't figure. So I'm not exactly sure what is. Can. Okay, Japan of words profanity is an issue. People generally don't have these confrontations that you find in America so often. I don't know. I mean, I've sometimes wondered if maybe it's not money that's the root of all evil. It's religion. Because, as I said, Japan is about as a-religious. They're not anti-religious so much. They're just a-religious. They're just not interested in religion, and so they don't have religious conflicts. I mean, there was a time in history when the Christians were here, and there was a reaction against them coming in, and they were relegated to certain areas of Japan, and for during a certain era, they were basically, the Christians were hunted down and so on. So in that case, I guess you could say they were anti-religious. The negatives of religion don't help. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I just don't see a need for religion myself. The Japanese don't see a need for religion. I mean, they don't, without religion, they're not out there, hurting each other. And I mean, they respect the law. And they respect fellow beings. Is religion do? I mean, is religion is more about? I mean, it seems to me the religion. What next? Japanese are just like deal with now. Next comes. Obviously, we don't know what comes next, so let's just deal with now and make the best. And so conferences and so on. It's just not gonna make the best. Yes. Maybe that's why I feel comfortable here. Well, I was, for my first 28 years in America. Do you ever hear the word gaijin? Of course, yeah, gaijin. Just means outside person, and so gaijin, as a outside person, could refer. For example, I heard a gaijin in reference to other Japanese in the first town that I lived in Japan, because they were talking about the gaijin in the town, and they were talking about the new gaijin, which was me and my group, and they were talking about the other gaijin, which were people that came from other parts of Japan and moved little. They were still gaijin because they weren't part of that town originally. So gaijin, is somebody external, an out person, an outside person, outside of the group. So you can use that in many, many different contexts. Yeah, that's exactly true. Gaijin, if you look at the Chinese character, it means out as an outside, and person. Gai is out and jin is person. Now, Gai Kokujin. Koku is country. So Gai Koku means out country. So a foreign person, right? So Gai Kokujin is the proper way to refer to somebody who's not Japanese, right? Is a Gai Kokujin. But yeah, but it's still completely appropriate to the language the person is, because they are an outside outside. Right? So it's not a slur, pejorative. I mean, it can be, you know, I mean, but then there are a lot of words that have objectively meaning that have been used or can be used with a certain, you know, in a certain context with a certain voice inflection or, you know, intonation and so on to make it insulting, I guess. No, not no, like I said, it just, you know, outside person, but you know, so I mean, you could even use gaijin if you know, some exclusive group, or you know, you're a member of some group and there's somebody else who is trying to interact with you, and you say just, you know, you're outside, you know. Yeah, it's not because of my in white, you know, it's I'm not part of the group. And I mean, it's, you know, it's more obvious for me that I'm not part of this. You know, I'm not a native Japanese. But then again, you know, I mean, at the university, it's more a measure of how far you have acclimated to the Japanese system. The better your Japanese is, the more you're able to help with administrative, which are a level of Japanese language that beyond learners, most learners that at least those that first come to Japan are not, you know, to administer duties at the university. And is some, you know, it's not resentment against the foreigner as much as a resentment, or noting the difference between the abilities to do certain work, right? And you know, I still feel that, you know, because there is a lot of administrative work that even with my spoken Japanese ability and ability to read to a, and so in the computer world, because I can use things like Google Translate and so on. There's a lot of duties that I can do, but there's still things that I can't. And some Japanese who feel that their own workload is increased because of faculty members who are not doing. But again, that's, you know, that's not necessarily only because of a person coming from another country or another language background. I mean, there are people in any society that don't necessarily care to pull their own weight when it comes to some of their work duties and so on. I'll fix your little red wagon is not someone wanting to help you out. Exactly. Right. Yeah, that type of thing. But yeah, the word gaijin itself, you know, is not you know, I think it would be interesting to watch a stream with you and a native Japanese person. Yeah, that would be easy to do. I do know quite a few of them. And I know quite a few that speak English quite well. The head of our campus, the university that I work at is a rather large university. It's one of the largest educational systems in Japan, with schools from preschools and kindergartens up through graduate school and so on. And even like space research facilities and so on, all kinds of things. It's a very, very large, and so the university has 8 campuses spread throughout the country, kind of like large universities in America to a certain extent, right? And talk about stuff between Japan and the West. Yeah. Yeah, like I said, the head of our campus actually, when we talk with him, he's comfortable with people calling him Tom, because his name is actually, what's his name? Tomohiro. So Tom, just shorten it to Tom. And he actually spent, I think, 2 years in Boston in graduate school. So he speaks English very well. He knows a lot about America, or at least he knows about Boston anyway, and some about America and so on. Yeah. Although he is the head of the campus, the equivalent of the, almost the equivalent of a chancellor, university chancellor. Tomohiro, yeah. But Americans are basically, if somebody Tomohiro, you Tom, right? So, everybody in the country, they often shorten the names. Chancellor higher than a dean. Yeah. It's the dean of a, and the chancellor is usually over the entire school, taking in, so for example, chancellor university, is basically the highest position at the university, or a dean with the highest within right? The the department, of the department, the whatever. Right. Or the dean of the college. College is good. Department, college. I mean, and it's also difficult because, well, similarities, there are also some differences in the organization. Translating the labels from one to difficult. For example, here my coach, which exactly how to translate that, I'm not sure. I've seen it translated, the dean way more than the chancellor, if ever. Yeah. Yeah, I know. But so Koshi, I've seen it translated as lecturer. I've also seen it translated as assistant professor. What is the proper translation? That's difficult because the structure within the universities is slightly different enough that you can't map one term directly to another, with 100%. And so, but the other things are closer. So Kyoju is a professor, and the Jun Kyoju is an associate professor. Pretty well, straightforward translation there. But then other things, again, due to the organization, the differences in expectations of that position and so on, it's a little more difficult to translate them. Yeah. All right. Well, I said more than an hour from now, I should be back online with my buddy, and we'll again. I hope you got in. I'm doing my thing, but this network is unnerving here. I've had this problem before, and so I hope it's not something that's developed by to my MacBook here because, like I said, it's this network that's available. It's connected to only one option, whereas my iPad here, several options in the same house, the same location here. So I can't really understand what is going on, but I'll figure it out and I'll be back. Right now, I've got to run and get the. Oh, good news! Japan, slow as it has been, Japan is getting their vaccinations underway. They have started go, but slow. It's been very slow, and so we're all kind of chomping at the bit injections. My wife, who works at a hospital, not a doctor or nurse, but she works at the hospital, so she's a frontliner because she, at least with patients, so she gets her vaccination rather early. So today is her day. In a few minutes, she'll be getting her vaccination, and so just as a precaution, I'm going to go and collect her workplace, bring her home. That's where and I will be back. Thank you guys for listening to me learn about that and the other thing. I will try to get this network kerfluffle ironed out here and hopefully offer you a better quality best bit later on. Okay, so thanks again. See you